What did we just walk into? Got a lot going on here. Let me try to explain. Right now it's the beginning of February, and back in the fall I started working on the front seals and axle of our tractor. Nothing like taking something apart and then trying to remember how it all goes back together a couple months later. What do these parts belong to, you might ask? Well, that would be this tractor right here. Massey Ferguson 184-4, which is actually a rebranded Landolini imported from Italy in the early 80s, late 70s. Had I have known that when I bought it, I definitely wouldn't have bought it. Always pays to do your homework, right? When I first checked this thing out, I didn't know a lot about tractors. And I thought I was making a good choice. It was fairly cheap for the size, with four-wheel drive and a loader. So I figured, what's the worst that could happen? Any piece of old equipment you're going to end up working on, which is totally expected. Shortly after I bought it, the hydraulic lift went from working pretty slow, but still working, to not working at all. The front steering, I discovered, had no oil in it, and when I filled it up with oil, it all leaked right back out. That's what all the parts on the workbench are from, and what we'll continue working on here in a little bit. The high-pressure oil pump went from a slow diesel drip to a gusher. That will need to be disassembled and rebuilt, which I have the kit for. We do have brand new rims. Since this was an imported tractor, it was very difficult finding these rims. It took months of calling around, but then eventually a pair popped up on eBay. I guess these are somewhat unique. They are 30-inch diameter with 8 lugs, and then the inner hub is 6 lugs. For whatever reason, that is hard to come by. There's also new tubes in these tires. It came with about, what do we got, 100 or so gallons of sodium chloride. Is that the right one? Sodium chloride, which is the same stuff they salt the roads with, in these two rear tires. So each tire had about 50 gallons in it. I'm not putting that back in because it did corrode them, which is why they needed to be replaced. And then the biggest repair of them all. Do you see that empty slot right there? If you know anything about tractors, you know what's supposed to be there. That would be the PTO clutch lever. For whatever reason, it's missing. And we got this guy. Oh, it's a little stiff right now. Oh, no, there it goes. this moves and hard stop in both directions. That is supposed to control the PTO clutch. The PTO does spin. There's also this secondary PTO for the hydraulic pump for the loader, which works. When I checked this thing out, I saw the PTO spinning and knew that it worked and didn't really think to try and turn it on and off. There is this lever right here, which is it's different than the PTO clutch. It's the PTO engagement lever. So with the tractor not running, I can turn the PTO off and I can set it between ground speed and engine speed. This means, however, that I can't use any implement like a mower. Once we get done putting this wheel hub back together and I finish the other side, we're going to move on to splitting the tractor. Actually, before we split the tractor, I'm going to try to attach like a 2-foot long bar to this and see if with some leverage it will move. I'm honestly not sure if it's seized in there, but somebody took that lever off for a reason. And it could have been, the PTO clutch may have been engaged for decades, for all I know. The hour meter says 1,700 hours, or 11,711 hours. What do you guys think? I reassembled the other side, which you didn't get to see, but I am going to walk through all the steps of rebuilding this wheel. So first we got to turn this thing around. I've had the battery charging overnight, and I guess I need a little more. Let's give this thing a boost. Gonna get this trickle charger back on here before I forget. So hopefully next time this thing starts all on its own. I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but the alternator on this thing also doesn't work, so maybe we'll replace that one day. Let's get this tire off. I know with the other one, these need a little heat, so we'll just start right off with that. This is the only pipe I have around attached to the sledgehammer. So that's what we're using here. Not so bad. I don't remember if this was drained or not. It probably has some oil in it. Oh yeah. I think the leak is from the seal in the axle. That looks like it held the oil pretty good. But in order to get to the axle seal, we have to take all of the hub off anyway. That is all wet from oil leak right there. So that must be from the seal in the axle. I do know for sure that this was leaking a lot from both sides. You can see over on this side, that leaked from the hub seal all down on the tire here, so we've already taken care of that. Either way, we're doing all the seals in this front axle, so hopefully no more leaks when we're done. This is interesting. I already saw that there is red RTV, which means someone's been in here. But on these bolts is blue RTV also, which means someone's been in here twice. I don't know. We'll see. The other side still had the original paper seal in there, or at least a much older seal. See if we can tap this thing open. All right. We got the planetary gears. Yeah. A snap ring right here. And then this center gear should come right off. And then an inner snap ring. Oh. Next, we have this center. It's not really a nut, more of like a locking ring and a castle washer, maybe. One of these little tabs on that washer is bent. There it is. Bent up to lock the ring into place. So we need to bend it back. I think that's pretty good. I think we got it. And I'm sure there's a tool to take this off. We're just going to tap it loose with the screwdriver. It's not really on there very tight, just enough to snug up the bearings inside of here. Not quite yet. It's loose, but it's caught up on that washer, so I can't remove it by hand power yet. There we go. Oops, there goes my glove. That happened fast. This is brand new pair. Oh. A little bath in the oil there. I noticed a couple things here. This ring that was on this way was, look at that. Somebody really hammered at that thing. And that would be tightening it. And that doesn't need to be very tight. So looks like somebody definitely over tightened this at some point in the past, which could be why this has been opened a couple times. And then this nut also, like a bunch of these are bent up, which tells me this has been taken on and off many different times in the past. I got the blue and then the orange. But everything else, this all looks good. I'm no expert, but I don't see any chunks of metal and no teeth broken off. Our gear here. Center gear. Sun gear. Is that the sun? This should just pop right out now, I think. Right? Oh, yeah. Oop. Stopped. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I was hoping to do this one at a time, but this whole thing is coming out together, and it's pretty heavy. Let's see. No, that wasn't so bad. Oh, there goes our oil. This is a large seal in there. And I'm going to clean it up. But I think it's good. I do have an extra, but I might as well just hang on to it if this one's good. This is not the original. The other side that I replaced had an old style metal. It was metal around here, and this whole thing is rubberized, which means it's fairly new. we go. I was afraid of that. Now that it's loose, the nut is just spinning. If you give her a little squeeze, maybe it'll come off. Stop spinning in there. There we go. Yeah, this thing is totally shot. There's like no grease or anything in there. It's all right though. It's not like a car flying down the highway. It's a tractor going 6 miles an hour. Huh. Well, oh yeah. Looks like I need to take this pin out and fully remove the power steering cylinder. So it won't go up high enough. Is this just a pin? Oh yeah. Nothing holding it in at all. So the pin does not go up high enough to remove itself from the cylinder. So what the heck? Oh. I think it's because when I jack this up, this side of the axle is higher than over there. So maybe if we lift it again here. The tire over there is weighing it down, but if I push this down or get a bar in there, it should tilt the entire axle this way and give me room to take that pin out. Oh yeah. Oh, still not quite enough. We're close. I don't want to go prying on stuff too much with this suspended in the air like that. So I'm just going to lift up with the bottle jack on that side of the axle, which will lower this side of the axle and free up that pin. Not too sketchy at all. Oh, very close. Ah, you got it. Cylinder is free. Let's get this front end back on his jack stand in a safe position before something terrible happens. This is very loose. Clearly got a bunch of oil in it. There is some shims in here too. You want to hold on to those. 1, 2. No shims on this side. I think this whole thing should just come off now. Oh yeah. And oh, hold on. There's a bearing in the top and the bottom. I want to put something under there to catch it. All right. I just put this tray down, this lid down, because if that bearing falls, we don't want it on the wet, dirty, grimy floor. Let's see. Oh, there she is. One dirty, greasy bearing. Oh, wow. This is wrong. What's going on here? This washer should not be concaved. Good thing I did the other side first. It was flat over there. Wonder what happened. Why would that be the case? Yeah, this same ring at the top is flat. One thing I'm not sure of is the amount of grease here. Is this correct? Like, I know that a CV joint in a car, this thing is in a rubber boot and it is packed full of grease, and that is in there. This, on the other hand, it's not really sealed. There's this between the outer knuckle and this. When you take a sharp turn, this opens up, and all sorts of dirt and grass can get in there. So, having never done this before, I don't really know what the right way is. I would guess I just clean this all out, which I'll do, and then pack the U-joint here full of grease, put it all back together. Maybe somebody knows better than me. I need to pull this axle out, which will just come out freely at this point. But first I'm gonna clean up all the grime and gunk on all of these pieces. All right, let's get this stuff cleaned up. I believe that's where the seal is leaking. Definitely looks oily in the bottom half here. And there's some oily sludge in there still. Huh. You know, I thought I drained that all, but I guess not. We have our O-ring here. And on the inside, behind this bearing, is an actual seal, oil seal. If the oil seal was bad, it would be wet. This is like dry and rusty, this whole ring. That tells me that this rubber ring here must have been leaking. The O-ring. I don't know. We're gonna take it all apart and change it after I clean that up. Actually, I was gonna leave that all greasy because it's not dried up, and it's not. Its purpose, as far as I know, is just to protect these U-joints from dust and dirt. So, you know, if it's already a little gross, that's just fine. It's doing its job. So let's move on to this seal here. First, we'll just take a look at this. And at first glance, it doesn't seem like it's damaged or anything. Let's get this thing off of here. This whole thing should slide right off of here. I don't know if you can tell, but the seal does look a little crusty, but you know, if it was leaking through here, you think there'd be some sign of oil on the face of this, and it looks pretty dry. Yeah, we're gonna switch them anyway. I don't feel anything. This all appears, all appears to be just fine. This is still elastic, a little stretchy, no dents or bumps. This seal seems stretchy. Let's just get this nice and clean and I'll put the new seal in. So this is, we got a little ding there. We got a little ding there. I don't think that might be why it was so hard to pull out of there. That's not really sealing anything. I'll have to take a close look at the inside of the axle where this sits in. We're getting there. Hmm. All right. Put a little oil on this seal here. And the ring too. It slid on there a lot easier than it came off, which I don't know what it tells me, but it tells me something. Something is different. Mm-hmm. Gotta put some up inside of the, up underneath here to hold the taper roller bearing in. Let's talk about this situation. I can't see how this could possibly have been warped like this, the way things are here. This goes in. This ring goes on. that rubber spacer. Get the washer, and then the bearing. The face, the bearing here sits on the that sits on the shoulder of this pin, right? So so if this bearing is pressed against the shoulder, this spacer washer is still loose. Therefore, I really don't know how it could have got this way. Doesn't make much sense. There's nothing. This doesn't sit. Nothing presses into this in order to warp it like that. Oh yeah. There's like a little groove. A little groove in this ring too. Anyway, we're gonna flatten this out. Put it back. I just got 2 blocks of steel here. We're gonna give that a couple whacks and see if it flattens out for us. Not bad. We will use a socket to get this inner. There we go. I think we'll call that good. I kind of think the only purpose of this is to go on here and keep the grease. Stop the grease from squeezing out of here. Doesn't really have any pressure on it or do much of anything else. Not sure if this one needed to be changed, but once again, we're in here, so we're gonna do it. Going in a little crooked. No good. Let's see if we can get this side back on track. Oh yeah. We're in. You can see how I think that ring is only blocking the grease, keeping it inside the bearing. I've got the bearing, the washer, and the rubber ring here. And some grease. Hopefully I can stick it up underneath and it will stay put so I can put this knuckle back on. Oh yeah. All right. Stay. Oh, there we go. It's a little tricky getting all of this to line up. close. It's very close, but does not want to line up. I had a feeling the axle wasn't in all the way, and now it is. There we go. Nice. Got this bottom pin in. We've got the top pin in. We have two shims. They were both on the bottom. I'm going to put them back on the bottom, and I think that's the right thing to do. The reason for these shims, it's how the pressure on the bearing is adjusted. The less shims, the tighter the bearing gets squeezed by this pin. All right. Feels good. I do feel like it's hanging up a little bit, but for the most part, it's smooth. What I was talking about earlier, you make a sharp turn, this is just open to that U-joint. Dust and dirt and grass and everything goes in there. So we want to tighten this until there's no wiggle. See, it still moves a little. I think if I give it a good spin and it stops on its own within like a half a revolution, we're pretty good. And then you're supposed, once you get it tight, you're supposed to back it off a little and then tighten it again. The sun is shining finally, and most of the snow is melted. I think here in Western New York, this is officially second spring. First spring was a couple weeks ago when we had a few warm days. Eager to get working on the house here. All right. That needs to set up until tomorrow before I fully torque down all those bolts. Yeah. Heavy. Are you a safety dog? I have this front end all sealed up, oil in the axles and the hubs. I'm just gonna take a quick drive to churn things up in there, and then we'll let it sit overnight and see if anything leaks out. Hey, it's the next day and it looks like there's no leaks. No drips that I can see. It's hard to tell over here since we have a lot of old oil dripping, but everything looks good. That means what we have here, well, it's just some water. Let's go take a little tractor drive and do a little job with Leaky Bill here. That bolt's ridiculously small. Maybe we'll put a better bolt in there, huh?
This little hut is one of the many pieces of trash around the property that we're trying to clean up. So we're just gonna toss it in the trailer and head on back. Well, that was a nice little test run for Leaky Bill, the tractor. There's a lot more work to be done. We have to address the PTO situation. I need to rebuild the fuel pump, and the hydraulic lift doesn't really work. Hopefully we can get this thing fully functioning and get a mower and mow all these fields out here. This is the third summer that they've gone unfarmed and untouched. It sat for, what was it? It was corn in 2023, and then we bought it at the end of 2024. And last summer we didn't do anything with it. We were approached by some local farmers to lease it out, and I know that's an option, but we're not quite sure what space we need to use for what we want to do here. It's like a 5-year lease, so once it's locked in, that's it. And we're quite ready for that, but we may do that option in the future. Only time will tell. Thanks for sticking around through this whole video if you're still here. Liz and I really appreciate anyone who might be watching, and hopefully we can continue this YouTube thing here and make some more cool, fun videos for everyone. Have a great day.